We're going to conclude this week of our Wonderful Day in the Lord broadcast by looking at Psalm 122 and 123, two more psalms of the Song of Ascents, as they call it. And as we look at this one, we find that in verse 1, he said, I was glad when they said to me, let us go to the house of the Lord. Now remember, they're getting ready to go to one of the three major feasts of Israel. So maybe he's working away, maybe he's doing his job, kind of absent-mindedly going about his way, and someone said, it's time to go. It's time to go up to the feast. And he was glad to be reminded of that. Our feet are standing within your gates, O Jerusalem. So by verse 2, he's there. They've traveled the distance, they've sung these songs, and now they're in Jerusalem, and he's very glad to be standing in Jerusalem at this time. And while they're there, what are they going to do? Well, they're going to give thanks to the Lord in verse 4, to give thanks to the name of the Lord. They're also praying specifically for peace. And this chapter is largely about peace. He mentions peace, I think, 3 different times here. Pray for the peace of Jerusalem, he said, because peace was often absent in Jerusalem. Pray for that. Verse 7, may peace be within your walls. And then in verse 8, may peace be within you. So he wants the peace of Jerusalem. He wants them to be free of conflict and attack and so forth. And therefore, this psalm is praying for peace. When we drop down to Psalm 123, he said, to you I will lift up my eyes, to you who are enthroned in the heavens. So this is a psalm of worship. And he asks in verse 2 that the Lord will be gracious to him. This is a psalm about God being gracious to them. Verse 3, be gracious to us, O Lord, be gracious to us. Why? Why is he concerned about God's grace? Because there are people there who oppose the grace of God and the peace of God. So, for we're greatly filled with contempt. Our soul is greatly filled with the scoffing of those who are at ease and with the contempt of the proud. So there are people that are resisting God that they have to face, whether they're people in a hometown or people in Jerusalem, people along the way as they travel. Many people are not following the Lord, and they're proud people. They're arrogant people. They're resisting the way of God people. And so he's praying for the Lord to give grace to them. And as he does so, he is recognizing their subservient status. These verses talk about verse 2. He says, behold, the eyes of servants look to their master, or as the eyes of servants look to the hand of their master, as the eyes of a maid to the hand of their mistress, so our eyes look to the Lord our God. So he is not claiming any greatness. He's not arrogant. He is simply saying, I'm like a servant looking to my master. I need your power, your help, your grace. And so he calls on that in this chapter. Now what's interesting is this. If we couple these two together, Psalm 122 is calling for peace, the desire for peace mentioned 4 different times. In Psalm 123, the desire for grace, for God to be gracious to them, is mentioned several times, 3 different times. So we put these two together. The psalmist wants peace and grace. Now what I found interesting on this is I started thinking about this, and I discovered something I myself had never actually realized, and I hope it's a blessing to you as well. As I think of coupling together peace and grace, 2 great gifts of God, I thought about the New Testament scriptures when these 2 things, peace and grace, were coupled together. So I began to go back and look, and I was surprised myself at this. I found that in the majority of the epistles begin with the call or the wishing for somebody else peace and grace. Matter of fact, unless I messed it up, every one of Paul's 13 epistles reference peace and grace in the opening words. And then also 1st and 2nd Peter do the same thing. So we find that throughout most of the epistles, there is a call for it, a desire for either personal peace and grace or for peace and grace for someone else. So what an interesting thing that the Psalms, all the way back in Psalm 122 and 123, these psalmists are calling for peace and grace for the Jewish people. When we come to the New Testament, we're in different circumstances. We're not traveling up to Jerusalem for Jewish feasts, but we're traveling through life living for the Lord. And what do we need? Well, we need the same thing they needed: God's peace and God's grace. So I found that very insightful and something well worth pondering as we work our way through these Psalms. I hope you give that some thought, and I hope this actually gives you a wonderful day in the Lord to consider His peace and His grace.